So growing up, I always loved getting different colored like custom controllers for any console that offered them. So whenever the Switch came out, my mind was racing, dude. Like we just got this sweet new black sexy thing that dropped, and I have all these ideas and thoughts about what colors we'd get. Like what awesome designs would Nintendo drop on our doorstep? What sweet beauty would they grace us with? They're all f***ing black. So I finally decided I'm not gonna accept that. I'm just gonna go out and make all my own custom Pro Controllers, and Nintendo, you can go do something with yourself that I don't feel like saying on camera right now. So this is where companies like Extremerate come in. So if you don't know, Extremerate's a company that makes all sorts of custom controller parts and console parts and other things that make me smile like that. I worked with them a few months back whenever I was working on that Game Boy Joy-Con video that had the sweet D-pad on it. I really like that D-pad. So here I am, once again, showing you some shit I got for free. Now, I do want to stress that this video is not sponsored by Extremerate. They did just send me some stuff here to basically review and show off to you guys. Just wanted to get that out there. Although I did actually end up paying for some of this stuff too. More on that later. So at the beginning of all this, I sat down and I asked myself, what do I even really want to see in a custom Pro Controller? 1, it'd be super freaking nice to have an octagonal gate on here for certain games. 2, I really want to get some clickier buttons if that's like at all possible. 3, if I could get a different texture, that would also be cool, because I've never really been a huge fan of how the Pro Controller feels on my hands. And finally, dude, it's gotta be hot. Now, originally I was planning on making like 1 or 2 custom Pro Controllers. I wasn't really sure how much I wanted. I ended up making 4. What is wrong with me? So we made an NES one, a Super Nintendo one, and like a pink pastel one. Look how freaking adorable this thing is. And finally, there's this N64 inspired yellow one. Except it doesn't have bananas on it. So these 3 have an octagonal gate on here, and oh my god, guys, it feels amazing. So you know how back in the day, most controllers had like a piece of plastic on the face of them that kind of restricted movement to just 8 ways? Yeah, me too. I miss that. I don't want to play Mario Sunshine with full 360-degree movement. Ew! So having a feature like that on here immediately makes one of these like my go-to controller. And yes, sometimes I do just furiously rotate it because I think it feels good. So you know how earlier I also said that I really kind of wanted some clickier buttons? During my research, I found out that Extremerate has something called a Clicky hair trigger kit. And this is exactly what it sounds like. So basically, instead of having like a squishy rubber membrane under your shoulder buttons, what this does is it swaps that out and puts mechanical switch triggers in there, and they feel so good. So I decided to do this on 2 of them. I did it on both of the console-inspired ones, so the NES and the Super Nintendo one. And I got some thoughts. So overall, putting together all these controllers for the most part was pretty easy. Now, unlike the Joy-Con, there's a lot more room to maneuver around in here, a lot more room to work with. It's a whole lot easier to deal with the parts here, and you pretty much only need like a small Phillips head screwdriver to do the job. It's really not that bad. So with all that being said, the Clicky hair trigger kit definitely takes the most patience and the most amount of time to do. So whenever I was doing the NES one, I was just following along with the video tutorial that they had out there, and it was going smooth, nothing went wrong, knocked it out of the park. This son of a bitch, though, was an absolute nightmare. So the general process of this is you gotta open this up, get down to the triggers, and then you gotta take the old rubber membranes out and swap it with the hair trigger kit. The issue comes whenever you try to remove the trigger buttons, which are attached with this metal bar, which made me want to lose my mind. Dude, I tried to get the pin out of here for like 30 to 40 minutes straight, and I couldn't get it out, so I literally had to come down to my garage down here, grab a hacksaw, and saw away part of the plastic just so I could rip out the metal bar. What kind of manufacturing f***ery was going on at the factory that day? None of that was Extremerate's fault, by the way, but I just had to mention it. But anyway, it's done now, and these feel awesome. There's really no describing how good these feel. You just kind of have to like push it to really understand how that tactile feeling works, that feedback. Oh god, it feels good, man. So now whenever it comes down to the feeling of these controllers, these all have this really nice, like soft, matte kind of plastic feeling to them. I think I briefly mentioned this in that Joy-Con video that I did, but I really like how Extremerate's shells, they have this like soft touch to them. It's kind of hard to describe. I've never really been a big fan of how the normal Pro Controller feeling is, like that texture on it. It feels like grimy. I don't know. These, however, just have that like nice soft touch, and it just melts in your hand whenever you're playing it. Now, as far as the designs themselves go, I really love what Extremerate's done here. So the 2 console ones that I got look really solid, and it did a great job with the colors and recreating the layouts on them. I've always been a pretty big fan of the NES aesthetic overall, with its mix of blacks and grays and reds that just pop out at you. So whenever I ran across this one on their store, I was like, I need it! If I'm being totally honest here though, I think the pink one's actually my favorite. But I am also a massive sucker for a nice pale color shade, dude. And whenever you combine that with these clean ass white joysticks, that is spicy. Now I decided for this one that I wanted to go ahead and leave the D-pad black on it because I felt like it needed some kind of accent on it somewhere, and it really helps to tie this like black in with the Switch logo up here that I picked up from a seller on Etsy. It also kind of helps tie in the player indicator section on the bottom, and it also doesn't make the top part look like it's super out of place. So, you know, I like that. And I am super happy with how this one turned out overall. Except the white joysticks can get really dirty. So Extremate sent me all the parts to all the other controllers, and I ended up liking those so much that I decided, you know what, F it, I'm doing a 4th one. I ended up just ordering these parts to do this N64 yellow one, and man, I am so happy that I did. Now this one doesn't have like an octagonal gate on it or clicky triggers or anything like that, but you know what? That's okay. I love him anyway. I wanted to leave this one without some of that stuff just in case, you know, I had a certain game that needed like full 360-degree movement or something like that. This is like the kind of controller that if you just walk in a room and you see it just sitting on a shelf or something across the room, you're gonna want to pick it up and play with it. It's got this like really bold, welcoming, warm, yellowy orange color that just pops out at your face whenever you slap some colored buttons on it. And these buttons like basically being a direct callback to the N64 buttons, it just warms my heart. So yeah, if you guys are interested in doing this for yourself, there is a link in the description below. If you click on that, that'll take you over to their website, and that's an affiliate link, so I do get a little bit of that back. But like I said, I'm not sponsored or anything through this video. These are all my genuine thoughts, and I really like this process as a whole. And yeah, if you do end up going over there and getting something for yourself, make sure you use the code indiejacob whenever you're checking out. I think you save like 10% by doing that, so you save a little bit of money, helps the channel out, everybody wins. So yeah, the only problem I have left here is I did 4 of these, so I really hope that they work on the Switch too.